What's going on, Eric?
What's going on, man?
Appreciate you for taking the time out for this.
Oh man, it's my pleasure. My pleasure.
Absolutely. Yeah, before you even got on here, I was just trying to explain to everyone all the history that you're a part of, all the knowledge that we want to learn from your vocal production to your songwriting, and even just the history with Dawkins and Dawkins, and just everything you have going on. So appreciate you for taking the time out for this.
Man, this is my pleasure. My pleasure.
Absolutely. So, I mean, I've got to get started talking about some recent things here. Dawkins and Dawkins, the new record's still good. I actually had a chance to listen to this when you were on live, and Tyrese was in there as well. And
Yeah.
that song is grooving. Like, just talk about that song.
Oh man. Yeah, that song is there's a backstory to it, and a lot of my followers know what that story is. The guy that produced it, a really good friend of mine named Focus.
Yep.
He through tragedy, he lost one of his sons in a car accident, and
Mhm.
he asked me to pen this song for him, and just wanted to really talk about being in a dark place and losing something so dear to you, and life just being in a really bad way, and still being able to say that God is good. And
Right.
just from that, me talking to him, and it kind of gave me the inspiration for the song. And then hearing the track, it just took the inspiration up even more.
Yeah.
But yes, it's really just a celebration of life. Understanding that we're all living in crazy times right now. Like,
Yeah.
I've lost several people to COVID, and even some other stuff going all the way back to last year, losing LaShawn,
Yeah.
and still being able to say that God is still good. So
Yeah. And it's amazing just to see that after so many years, you're still creating, still uplifting people with your music. But I want to take it to the early beginnings with Dawkins and Dawkins. Just take me through the early grind with your brother and trying to just find your way in this industry.
man, you know what? I think for us, it wasn't as much. It wasn't as much of a grind trying to find our way. And we were
Yeah.
fortunate. We were fortunate to have um, some friends of some friends that got us an audience with Fred Hammond, and we
Hmm.
played him a demo that we had done. Which, by the way, thinking about it now, it was horrible. But Fred heard the potential and saw something that obviously we didn't see yet. We were just a couple of kids, a couple of church kids that love music, and were doing it the best way we knew how. And he saw the potential there, and he really just took us under his wing and showed us the ropes as far as producing,
Yeah.
songwriting, and arranging, and just the whole. We got a crash course in the music business, touring with Commission for like three
Right.
years. So
Right.
that's really where Dawkins and Dawkins, the professional Dawkins and Dawkins, started.
Right. And as you guys are going through your journey, you release a couple of albums. The Focus album, obviously, a lot of people love that album. Just throughout that journey, what kind of clicked with you guys with that album to make it what it was?
Well, we this one thing that we had done, and some people don't even know, we have four albums out actually. We have
Yeah.
the self-titled, the Necessary Measures, which was the second one that came out in '94, and then
Yeah.
'98 is when Focus came out,
Yeah.
and then in 2011 is when From Now On came out. So
Yeah.
with the Focus project, we had just gotten with a new label after the situation we were in with commissioned at a label called Benson. We when we got out of that, we just kind of felt like we wanted to sit for a while and just kind of figure out the next route, and came across uh, actually one of the people that was working at the label that we were at before, kind of gave us a little insight on Harmony, where we ended up,
Right.
and we ended up getting to do our. We did a lot of that. That was our cutting our teeth. We produced a lot of that, or had a lot
Right.
of creative control. Obviously, the Freddie and Rodney Jerkins did a few songs on there, and Jay Moss.
Yeah.
But we were like super super instrumental, which we've been from actually the first record. We were really hands on everything. Like, we very seldom do we accept something from somebody else without being involved in the writing process. Jay Moss is really one of the only people that we've actually let give us a song that was already done. I mean, because
Mm.
Jay Moss, I mean, in Pajam, it was pretty cut and dry when we heard it. It was like, okay, yeah, we don't need to do nothing but sing what you sang and you put it on the record. But other than that, we're just really always hands on. So that Focus record, it meant a lot to us, and uh, garnered a couple of our biggest songs, "Need to Know" and "Wrapped Up,"
Yep.
off of there. And "Praising on My Mind," I can't go without mentioning. That was a big too.
Right. And after that, I think you start transitioning yourself into the R&B world. Like, what kind of spark that was that in the plans originally? Like, just talk about that.
You know what? It wasn't really I don't think it was a plan that I had, but and you're right. It all kind of happened around kind of the same time between 96 and 98 is when I really started, you know, diving into pop and R&B. I moved from Detroit in 96 to LA, and that's really when I started trying to establish myself as a songwriter and producer.
Yeah.
uh, Got my first production deal with a good friend of mine that I moved out here with. His name is Chaka Blackman. It was
Okay.
myself, Chaka, Stephen Brown, called him Baby Boy. We got our first production deal with John McClain over at A&M. So, you know,
Mm.
major thing. Like in 90, it was 98 when we got the deal. So from there, things just took off. We ended up working with, meeting Ron Fair and working with
Hmm.
Christina Aguilera. And that's really what really drove me into heavy vocal production, because
Right.
that's really what I was doing with her. I wrote some stuff with her,
Yep.
but mostly I was producing all her vocals. So
Mm.
I got really heavy into that, and that just became something people knew me for, vocal production. So nobody really knew that I did tracks or
Right.
anything like that. So whenever I would do a track, people were like, "So who did the track?" I'm like, "I did it."
Oh.
What? It's not fair. You do tracks, you sing, you produce vocals, your pen is sick. Like, I mean, just the whole thing.
Right.
And I don't, I don't believe my own press. I do stuff that feels good to me,
Right.
and it's just a blessing that people really relate to it, and they gravitate toward it, and give me all the accolades and compliments and stuff. I just really love what I do, so I think it comes across in the music that I create.
No, I mean, we have to talk about a lot of those records that you were part of later on, but I gotta ask, like, when you first transitioned into R&B, this is a new world for you. Like, who are some people, or who was somebody that like you saw and you're like, I gotta get to that level. Like, I'm not there yet, but I gotta get to that level. Who was that for you?
Man, funny thing, and I have to say this before I say that. Um, a lot of our music, like even in gospel, me and my brother's music kind of yielded itself towards R&B. Like it was a real urban,
Hmm.
ahead of
Sure.
its time sound for gospel. So the transition for me from doing gospel, just gospel, to doing R&B and pop and all that stuff, it wasn't really a, 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 a hard switch,
Sure.
if that makes sense. Because
Sure.
all I did was change some lyrics, and um, the sound was pretty much the same.
Right. Yeah.
It's just really lyrical content that changed. But if I had to point out somebody that I or people that I looked up to production wise, back then, of course, Teddy Riley was
Yeah.
a huge influence. Um, um, Michael Walden, um, Kashif, like Jan
Mm.
and Lewis, of
Yeah.
course, L.A. Reid and Babyface. Those were really the ones that we kind of listened to their stuff. And a lot of Babyface stuff,
Of
like
course.
early Babyface stuff, when he was
Of
with the
course.
Deal, like that sound was just, it resonated with us. So, production wise, um, songwriting, I I studied, how Fred Hammond
Yeah.
arranged stuff. Of course, not so much lyrically, but like just the way he arranged melodies and harmonies, that kind of stuff. Because we were huge Toto and Chicago fans, and that's like a couple of the groups that commission patterned themselves after.
Amazing. So, I mean, I got to talk about this vocal production stuff that you do because, I'm going to give you my top five producers in R&B, and
Okay.
you're in it. I was
Oh
just telling
wow.
people about this earlier. So you're in there. I would say Harvey Mason's in there.
Absolutely.
I would say Troy Taylor's in there.
Absolutely.
I would say Adonis is in there.
Honest. Yeah.
And I would say LaShawn Daniels. Like, that's my top
That's
five.
the Mount Rushmore. That's
That,
the Mount Rushmore for me too. Like
yeah.
those are my go-tos. I have to mention Carell too because he's done a lot
Yep.
of stuff.
Of course. Yep.
Um,
Yep.
but the ones that you named, those are literally the ones that that's the company that I keep. You know, Adonis
Right.
is a good friend of mine. Of course,
Yeah.
Harvey, I still do work with Harvey.
Yeah.
And of course, LaShawn, that was like my brother. So, and I know Troy really well too. We've been trying over the years to get together and do some stuff. We just haven't gotten a chance yet, but I think we'll end up, doing some stuff together. But yeah, all those guys, I know them, so
Yeah.
we kind of bounce stuff off each other. So yeah, that's it's a good company
Yeah.
to be in.
But Eric, what makes a good vocal producer and like I mean you're talented vocally and an artist that you might be working with might not be able to do what you can do. So how do you kind of guide them through it? Like and was that something that you had to work on early on to get to the point where you can coach anybody?
I think for me, um, having being a vocalist, um, I have a level of empathy and compassion for the vocalist. So there's certain things that I just wouldn't try to get somebody to do if I know it's outside of their wheelhouse or outside of their level of skill. Then I don't get them to do that. I pride myself on having detours for days. Like if it's a melody,
Right.
even like if it's a reference that I did, and somebody wants to do something that I did, and I know that their voice it won't complement their voice. I always
Hmm.
have an alternative for them to do that's going to complement their voice, and it's still going to be something that's dope.
Right.
Um, but I think a good vocal producer knows how to hear what a person's strengths and weaknesses are, and and really capitalize on the strengths.
Hmm.
Try as best as possible to camouflage the weaknesses.
Hmm.
Um, whether it's they don't have a lot of range, or whether they're not a runner, whether their tone is not the best, you just have to know how to make songs that complement their voice. And I think
Right.
I've kind of I don't want to say I've mastered that, but it's kind of it doesn't take long for me to know somebody's voice, from top to bottom, and be able to do
Right.
something that that makes them sound good. I'll give you an example, and this is no slight or anything, but my good friend Michelle Williams, I worked on her first gospel project,
Yeah.
and got so many compliments because people would say, and people could be mean, talking
Yeah.
about she's the weakest link in Destiny's Child or whatever. But I heard something in her voice that I could work with, and I'm like, she got a great voice. I mean, you have to
Yeah.
know how to work with a person's tool. You know what I'm saying? Like I know how to work with her tool. Like if I would produce some, I did several other songs with her, and they sounded great. And I even got compliments from Beyonce and Kelly
Yeah.
on the way she sounded on the song that I produced for her. So, and again, it goes back to just knowing the person that you're working with and being
Yeah.
able to do something that will complement their voice.
Yeah. And it's also understanding that not every singer is meant for one song.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly. And I run into that sometimes when I'm working with groups. I have to go in and tell them like, okay, everybody's not going to sing on this song. Everybody's
Mm.
not going to have a lead on this song. This song just doesn't fit everybody's voice. So we even did that, in Clark Kent. Like there's a couple of
Right.
songs that when we had the group, a couple of songs is only me and Isaac leading, or it might be a
Right.
song that LaShawn is leading and I'm doing some stuff on the hook. So knowing that like you just said, every song is not for everybody. So
Right. So, I mean, we got to fast forward a little bit to the Underdogs era. And Eric, this is my soundtrack right here, the Underdogs. The stuff that you guys did, like I grew up with that stuff. That was like the soundtrack to my life. So, how
Uh,
did you get involved with the Underdogs?
I met Harvey first.
Okay.
I met Harvey when he was engineering for Rodney with Dark.
Mm, makes sense. Yeah.
Harvey ended up doing some edits on the Wrapped Up remix,
Mhm.
the song that Rodney did. So this is right in the middle of when he was working with Michael Jackson. So I got to hang out with him while they were doing it, and I met Harvey there, working in the studio with him. And then probably a few years, several years later, actually that was '98. So
Yeah.
maybe in 2000, around 2000 is when I met Damon.
Mhm.
Being good friends with Brandy, I was at her house one night. We had a movie night, and Damon, it's a funny story. Damon and Kim Kardashian, when they were married,
Yep.
were at the house, and I'm at the house playing the piano, and Damon walks by, and he asked Brandy, like, who's that kid playing the piano? And she told
Mm,
him I was. He came back down, and of course, he started playing stuff. We're playing stuff together, so we exchanged numbers, and didn't really do anything then, but we ran into each other that next year at NAM, and from then it was like we started staying a little more in touch. And Harvey made his exit from Dark Child,
mhm.
and he and Damon ended up linking up to do Underdogs, and they called me. They were working on Tyrese, so they
Yeah.
called me to come through and write, and literally the first thing I wrote with them was "How You Gonna Act Like That," and from
Yeah.
then on they were like, "Oh, I think we need to hold on to this cat." So they offered me a situation with him, like not even on paper. It's like, dude, if you ever want to come through and write with us, you're more than welcome. Like, this is where we are all the time. They were in North Hollywood at the time, and so I would go there whenever they were there, and we would work. Myself, it's at the beginning stages was me and Tony Dixon. Steve
Yeah.
Russell had been there with them before, but when me and Tony got there, Steve wasn't really around that much. I think he had started doing some other stuff.
Yeah.
But the core was Harvey, Damon, myself, and Tony Dixon.
Right.
And from that, we just started cranking them out, cranking them out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, an amazing era. And the work that you guys did with Tyrese, like, obviously he had success prior to How You Gonna Act Like That, but I think that record kind of like defined his sound.
I
Um,
just I
and
just found out this
yeah.
maybe a month ago that as of a month ago, "How You Gonna Act Like That" is Tyrese's biggest song
Yeah.
ever.
Yeah.
Like, I
Yeah.
think "Sweet Lady" was the biggest one for a while, but just here recently, "How You Gonna Act Like That" beat it out as his biggest song. So
Yeah. I mean, what was the key to having that success with Tyrese? Because the records that you guys do together, it's magical every time.
Tyrese says that me and him do duets.
Mm,
And that's another thing that I've kind of, certain people that I work with, and I can name them. Certain people that I work with, I kind of like to channel how I think they would sing it, and
mhm.
our tones are similar. So one obviously is Tyrese. I
Yeah.
I, I do a mean Tyrese impression when I'm singing. Um, Dave Hollister, same thing. Like, when I do his songs, I make them sound like him singing it. So when he hears it, he's like, "Oh, I'm sold." Um, Mario's
Mhm.
tone. He was actually able to kind of mimic my tone
Yeah.
on the songs that I did for him. Ruben stuttered. Our tones are similar. Stuff we did for Joe, I did the
Yeah.
references for that. So certain people I'm able to kind of channel and make the songs or tailor the songs to them. But the Tyrese thing has just been, we work good together. When we're in creative mode, because he has 10 gazillion ideas, and I know how to take 6 of those and make them great.
Right. Amazing. Um, it's interesting you mentioned Mario because the record that you guys did for him, How Could You? I've heard your reference. I think you played it on your Instagram Live once.
Yeah.
And the way that you put that bridge together, And then you
Yeah.
got Mario to sing that bridge. Like that's not an easy bridge to sing.
It's not. It's actually one of my favorite bridges out of all the bridges that we've done. That is on the top on the list of bridges. And Mario's just he's an underrated singer to me. Like
Yeah.
there's stuff that Mario can do that a lot can't. Period. And I
Right.
know about a month ago the little video clip of him talking about um, he didn't think there was anybody that could mess with him as far as vocals is concerned. I was like,
Right.
he's kind of in his own lane, and the people that
Right.
that he was naming, I'm like, and I think I posted it. It's like on the right day, if either one of those other people that he was naming was not having 100% day,
Hmm.
all bets are off. It could go to
Yeah.
either one of them. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So he's really 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 talented. That he was one of my favorite people to work with, um, artist wise.
Yeah. Amazing one. Now, Eric, I got to ask you this. I have an Underdogs tally going on. I've interviewed Steve, I've interviewed Harvey, and Tony as well. And
Hmm.
I've asked them all the same question. So I gotta see. The score is 2-1 right now. I'm not gonna tell you who's up, but what's the better song, "Oh" or "Naked"?
Oh,
Wow.
oh, I think oh,
Harvey says the same thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely think oh. I mean, and I wrote the bridge for that song because Tank and Tony had written it already, and when I came in, they were like, "Yo, get on this bridge." So I just wrote the whole bridge, and that absolutely over naked, hands
Wow.
down.
But the other thing that Tony picked "Naked," but he picked "Naked" because number one, he just felt it was a better song. But he said Tank's demo for "Naked" is like out of this world. I haven't heard it, so I
Oh
can't
yeah,
say whether that's true or
any
not.
any of Tank's references are gonna be out of this world. Like this, I mean, yeah. But oh to me, I think commercially,
Sure.
I switched hats. I went to executive mode.
Right.
Absolutely, oh is the pick out of the two for me.
Right. Now, Eric, we're actually in the midst of creating a article behind Sex, Love, and Pain, the Tank album. So I need a couple of quotes from you, but this is the perfect time to do it. You're here. The fans love that album as well. But
Yeah,
kind of just talk to me about Tank getting introduced to that Underdogs camp and how, his work kind of integrated into what you guys were doing.
man, it was crazy. Because I had met Tank maybe few years, a couple of years before he was brought into the camp. We met at some church concert and I found out that he was a fan of Dawkins
Mm,
Dawkins. Like he was fanning out, and I'm fanning out like, yo, maybe I deserve, dude. So it was this back and forth, this mutual respect thing, and we hit it off from jump and became really good friends. So when he came to the camp, I was like, oh shoot, this is about to be crazy. So you have Harvey Mason, Damon
yep.
Thomas, Tony Dixon, me, Lil Steve,
Yep.
and Tank. It's like an unfair basketball team. Like it's literally like Olympic all-star basketball team. And even I have to mention Jay Valentine because Jay Valentine
Yeah.
came in and he did some stuff with us. Like matter of fact, the Mario song. A lot of people hit me up about that,
Yeah.
and he's the one that came up with the Ghetto Karma Sutra line. So
Mm,
putting that out there right now, Jay Valentine is the one that came up with the Ghetto Karma Sutra line,
wow.
which is one of the lines that sticks out in that song.
Yeah.
But yeah, the team Tank coming to the team, it just added a different dimension because he played so well. And for a while, I was the one doing. I did all of the reference tracks, like all the vocal
Mm,
reference, anything that we did, whether it was female or male, I was the one doing it. And then when he came along, I was happy to let him do some of them. So
mm.
it just added a different dimension to what we were already doing. It was a great addition to the team.
Yeah, and of course, you're part of a couple of records on the album, classic album. Talk
Yeah.
about the songs Wedding Song and Heartbreaker, because those are like two of the saddest songs of all time.
Dude, let me tell you something. The wedding song, it was so funny the way we were even writing that. Just sitting in like how we usually do. We get our computers out and everybody's kind of coming up with lines. And one thing that I used to kind of want to be is the one to come up with that clutch line,
Yeah.
like those clutch lines in songs. I have several, but we all had our superpowers.
Hmm.
One person was on any given day, any of us could do anything basically.
Yeah.
But that particular song, like I think my favorite part of it was the dun 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 dun
Right.
dun 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 dun, and that's actually Damon singing that. We made him sing it,
Oh,
and
wow.
Damon is not a singer at all. He's
Right.
actually horrible, quite horrible. But we made it. That's him actually singing it on the record. But just we had all been in relationships that took a turn, and we had a lot of stuff to talk about where relationships are concerned. So that just happened to be um, one of Tank's experiences, one of my experiences. So yeah, songs like that came kind of easy to us. We just talked about life. We wrote about like
Mhm.
real life stuff, like all the stuff we wrote. There was nothing. We didn't really do the whole fantasy lyrics thing. Like
Right.
it literally would be stuff that we experienced that we could talk about. Like, yeah, I remember when I was dealing with that same thing.
Right. Yeah. I mean, talk about Heartbreaker, because that's another great one.
Yeah, heartbreaker. Yeah,
Yeah.
same situation.
Yeah.
Um, we've all been in that. We were all in that place at one time. And the funny thing is, when we would exchange stories, I got to bring Steve Russell in it too because he was part of that whole
Yeah.
situation too. But we would sit there and exchange stories and find out that like we all had these similar experiences in relationship, life, and love. Um, so Heartbreaker was I. But at the time, I had to say I'd never had my heart broke, so I was like, y'all gonna have to take them lines. I can come up with some of the other stuff, but I ain't never had my heart broke. I was usually the one breaking hearts.
The
So,
break. Right.
but I did have there was one that I didn't talk about, and I would pull from that and not tell them about it. But later on, I started saying, yeah, there was this one time,
Mm.
but it was more of a situation where I was in a situation and I messed it up. I didn't cheat or
Mm.
anything, but I messed it up. And when I decided to leave and wanted to be on my own or whatever, and then when I tried to come back, she was on some like, yeah, nah.
Yeah.
And it kind of, I got
Yeah.
a little sense of what heartbreak was. Cause this was
Right.
somebody that was like, we to this day, we call it, she would probably be like the soulmate. Um, like if I had to have one, other than my wife, obviously, that's who it
Right.
was. But she was one of the people that we finished each other's thoughts and stuff, or she
Mm.
would call me out of the blue when I was dealing with something. And I'm like, how the freak does she know that I'm even in this place? Like, so it was really weird. But that was probably one of the only times that I could say that I experienced something like a heartbreak.
Yeah. It happens to the best of us.
Yeah, true, true.
Um, Now, with Sex, Love, and Pain, talk about just what you think the legacy of that album is and what it did for Tank. Because, like, to me, that's a classic. A lot of people still love that album. Like, what is it from your point of view?
It definitely solidified Tank as a bona fide R&B staple, I think, because it was just a well-rounded project, like
Yeah.
lyrically, sonically, like from the production, everything. And it, of course, I Deserve put him on the map, but
Yeah.
this created that pin on the map where people like to go to. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's tons of places on the map, but do people want to go there? This Sex, Love, and Pain really solidified him as, one of the go-tos. Put him in that Joe, Brian McKnight, all the crooner R&B cats. He's
Yeah,
in that lane. Like that's, he's one of the top in that lane, as a matter of fact.
yeah, I
But yeah,
agree.
Sex, Love, and Pain actually did that for him, I think.
Agreed. You know, with the industry comes a lot of politics as well. Sometimes it kind of sucks with Sex, Love, and Pain, and even the JoJo album that you worked on. Those two albums were like missing from streaming platforms for years. The JoJo album she ended up re-recording, but
Yeah.
like, how do you kind of manage that type of stuff? I mean, it's out of your control.
Yeah, you almost can't, and that's that's all that had to do with the label that they were on,
Yeah,
Blackground. Um, we have history with Blackground because we did stuff obviously with Tank, with JoJo,
yeah,
with Tony Braxton because she was on there at one point.
yeah.
So we have history with with the label. Barry Hankerson was, if you know who Barry Hankerson is, you know the
Right.
deal.
Yeah,
So I'd venture to say, going into it, we knew that it could go either way. Like it
right.
could be some stuff that we were like, God dang, why did we even agree to do this? Or
Mm,
it could be like some great stuff come out of that. I think we got some great stuff out of that camp. Vincent Herbert, we're still friends to this day, but it was just an unfortunate turn of events, them being a part of a label that um, didn't do what they could have done with them. Because both of
right,
those records, like I've sat and talked to JoJo plenty of times,
right.
and had to hear her frustration with being stuck in that system, and
Yeah,
even for me, um, there were times that I worked with JoJo or wanted to work with JoJo, but I knew the situation wasn't going to be favorable, so I had to be like on some, as much as I love her, that's like little sister. I got to pass because it's not,
yeah,
business wise, it just is not going to turn out good for me.
right.
And we've reconnected since then. I've done stuff on, some vocal production on her last couple of projects. But yeah, that whole era was a little weird.
Yeah. I mean, I got to give a shout out for you for penning the record "Never Say Goodbye" because, again, the bridge on that one is insane.
Yeah, yeah, and
Yeah.
for anything that the Underdogs did, Damon he claims that he has, I don't know how many thousands of chords, but
Yep.
he was notorious for doing these changes in a bridge that would make us have to write the bridges the way they came out.
Mm,
Just, it just was what it was, and you combine somebody that has chords that don't necessarily do the traditional change or go somewhere where you didn't expect it to go. That's Damon. So
right.
you couple that with a cat like Tank or
Yeah.
me or Little Steve that vocally more so me and Tank, because we hear, because we play.
Yeah.
There's not a change that Damon could go to that we couldn't follow.
Right.
So writing bridges became easy, and I almost, at a point, I even told Damon, was like, okay, now the bridges are starting to sound the same.
Mm,
Like I could write a bridge and sing it and place it on top of what you do, and guarantee it'll probably 75% of it will be whatever I sang.
wow.
So I started challenging him. It's a true story. I started challenging him to do different stuff in the bridges. So sometimes I would listen to what he was doing in the bridges and be like, scoot over, move over, let me do this. And I'd start playing something, adding to what he did,
Oh, wow.
just to give it a different sound. But we had that kind of relationship. Like he didn't get mad or anything. He was just like, no, give me an idea. Like, show me something else.
Right. Amazing.
You know.
Now, last part about the Underdogs before we move on to the Pentagon. I'm not sure if you were still around during this time. Were you around when Luke James was there and James Fauntleroy?
Luke James, funny story. Luke and Q, they actually were. They kind of made them my project because I did
Mhm.
their first single.
Yeah.
Um, and what happened was they kind of threw them into the Eric Dawkins vocal boot camp. So
Right.
when I tell you I beat the crap out of him and Luke and Q when it came to
Yeah.
the studio stuff, like I wouldn't let up on him. I expected great from him. So when we would get in the studio, I really worked him hard vocally and I didn't let anything slide. So actually met Luke through my cousin Gavin Roan, who's part
Mm.
of Third Story. Um, Luke was singing background for Tyrese,
Yeah.
so I met him with Gavin introduced me, and from then we of course hit it off. And so I was there. Luke and Q were signed to the Underdogs.
Yeah.
We were doing we actually had a bunch of songs on them. They were putting the project out, but unfortunately the only song that came out was the single that I did, and they ended up breaking up. But yeah, that was the whole Luke era. I had left before James Fauntleroy started coming up there, but he was down on the second floor with Tyrese. So he
Okay.
was, I'd met him, but I wasn't there
Okay.
when he started working with him. I had already left um, to
Okay.
to do. Me and Tony actually had Anonymous before
Right.
Pentagon. So
Okay. So talk about that era then, the Anonymous Pentagon. Like, what made you guys decide to branch off from the Underdogs, and was that a tough transition? Because the Underdogs at the time, they're at the top of the R&B food chain. You guys have to kind of restart with a new name. Obviously, they know who you guys are, but
yeah,
it's kind of different from Eric Dawkins and Antonio Dixon versus that whole
Underdogs.
crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So and this is not you know everybody doesn't know, but it's kind of common knowledge. Um, well, maybe it's not, but I'm gonna set the record straight here.
Right.
The reason I left the Underdogs is because me and Harvey had some differences of opinion, and
Mm.
it got to a point where I felt like I need to leave before it turns into something that, um, yeah, something that it doesn't have to be. Because at the end of the
Sure.
day, we're creating music. We're not curing cancer. We're not saving the world. It's not that serious. So I felt like it was time for me to leave. And me and Tony we had a little pact because me and Tony did a lot of stuff together, even with the
Right.
Underdogs. Um, we made a pact. Like if either one of us left, then the other one would come behind us, come behind them, and we would start our own company. So when I
Right.
left, I hit Tony up. I even told him like, bro, you ain't got to do it. I understand it wasn't. It was kind of an abrupt exit for me. And I told him like, if you want to stay there, it's cool. I'm gonna start doing my own thing. But within a couple of weeks, Tony had
Mm.
he had pieced out, and then we started we started Anonymous and started doing stuff. And we were, the cool part was the people that we worked with. I had established a relationship with them, and they
Right.
saw when they were inside the four walls of the studio. They saw who was doing what. So it wasn't like they didn't know that I did a lot of the vocal arrangements and stuff with
Right.
Harvey, and then some stuff I did myself, as well as Tony was notorious for having track ideas that turned into what it was. So we were very capable, to go out on our own, and we had a nice run. Like did Chris Brown,
Yeah.
Tyrese, some JoJo stuff. Like we were like moving, and then
Right.
something happened with Damon and Harvey. I still don't know to this day what happened, but they ended up breaking
Right.
up. And Damon came over, just checking us out and asked if he could be a part of our thing. And so we was like, let's just create something different. So when the Underdogs broke up, the name Pentagon, after me and Tony did Anonymous, the name Pentagon was actually because there was going to be 5 people.
Mm.
So Pentagon was me, Tony, Damon, Tank, and I think
Wow.
Dave Valentine. It was going to be us 5, and so Tank and Jay decided they didn't want to really do that. Tank started; he wanted to do his own thing. He came up with the general
Song.
stuff. Yeah, Song
Yeah.
Dynasty. So
Yeah.
it was like, okay, cool, but the name is fire, so we're gonna keep the name. We just so Pentagon was me, Tony, and Damon, and we did that for a couple of years. Did some major stuff. We had a group called I Squared.
Mm,
We ended up doing like a platinum deal with Interscope with Jimmy Iovine. We did a label deal. We had a proper label. We did a song deal, and we got the group a deal there. So we did these three deals all at one time there. So we were in the building, and stuff happened, with the group that ended up causing Jimmy to lose interest, and so that was that
mm,
thing. And then we ended up just kind of dissolving from there for some other reasons within the
yeah,
group. And then I left, Damon left, and we just started doing our own thing. Tony stayed with Babyface, obviously,
yeah,
and they created their company called Facetune, which they've done a lot of great stuff since then. But I really wanted to focus on doing a lot of stuff myself. So, I've been doing a lot of independent projects and just maintaining, and worked on some majors. I did a lot of stuff with Mary J. Blige,
yeah.
of course, still Tyrese, um, several other people. So just still getting labeled as that underdog sound,
Right.
which is not a bad thing, because I feel like, and I feel like I can say this with all confidence, I helped create the sound that people came to know as the Underdogs.
Of course.
Um,
Absolutely. Yeah.
without it being like, they wouldn't be nothing without me. Not like that. I just was part of that. When people would call, they would literally want that Tyrese, how you gonna act like that sound? And some of them even said that, like, we need a how you gonna act like that,
Right.
or a sorry 2004, or that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, I was very instrumental in the Underdog sound. So,
Yeah.
um, and it a lot for me really came with as far as the vocal stuff I added, came from just what I do, naturally with Dawkins Dawkins. That wasn't anything of course I grew, being with somebody, iron sharpens iron. So being with Harvey, I kind of picked some stuff from him and added it to what I do,
Yeah.
and vice versa. So
Mhm.
coming out of there was nothing for me to do a song, and they were like, "Yo, that's that underdog sound." Like,
Right. I
sometimes I
mean,
didn't like it, but other times I'm like, "Yeah, it is what it is."
yeah. I mean, I gotta highlight some of the work that you did during that 2009, 2010 Pentagon era, because I feel like that was at a time when R&B started to change. EDM was really coming in, so the interest for R&B wasn't what it used to be. But like the records you did for Bobby B, the
Oh
records that
yeah,
you did for Avant, amazing records, and we gotta also talk about Noticey.
yeah.
I was talking to Adonis about Noticey. Like, I remember when I first heard that, I think I like found it on YouTube and I thought it was like the craziest thing ever. I didn't even realize it was a parody. But just
Yes.
talk about that era, that era.
Hey man, the noticey thing. I have to mention JQ, and I know you've done interviews with him too.
Yep. Yep.
It was literally us being at the studio one day and feeling like we were bored
Mm,
because we didn't have like anything. It was like a rare time for us not to have like anything that we needed to work on, because we were such a factory. Like, we had stuff. Like, if somebody called and they needed something, we could pull up, 100 songs with like nothing. So this was one particular day we were just bored in the studio. It was like, let's do something crazy. And Noticey literally was born out of us looking at this dude on YouTube named called Jay. I think his name was Jay Nash or something like that. And
all right.
we did a parody of one of his songs, which was so crazy. Like, how does this dude have a situation? But we did that first, and then it turned into like, let's do some Jodeci stuff. And as a joke, like, the stuff was amazing.
Yeah. Yep.
I have a funny story. Working with Tyrese one day, he came to the studio, and he brought Sanaa Lathan to the studio. So we're
Yep.
working, we're listening, we playing the noticey stuff for Tyrese, and we laughing, and she's sitting back there like, this supposed to be a joke? Because this is fire. We're like, this is totally a joke. Like, first of all, we're
Mm.
not a group. We write and produce together. That's it. Like, but she's like, no, I don't care what y'all say. This is fire. This stuff is hot. So media takeout got a hold of it. So it was like a real thing. People thought it was like a for real group.
Hmm.
So we kind of played with it for a little while, and then it was like, nah, we can't do this. I especially couldn't do it, not being a gospel singer, and some of the stuff that we were doing. I was
Yeah.
like, yeah, I can't be nowhere performing that. Nah,
Right.
this is just some foolishness we making up in the studio. So,
Right.
but yeah, that era was. I mean, it was super dope. Like we did stuff with uh, um, Day 26.
Hmm.
Um, what was the group that Puffy had? Him and Don and
Danity Kane.
no.
No, Dirty Money.
Dirty Money. Like we were
Okay.
been doing some stuff for them.
Okay.
It was just cool. A cool little. We were having fun. We were working out of Babyface's studio, so we would do stuff with him. He would do stuff with us. Um, that was just really cool to have him next door, and he just come over and be like listening to our stuff and giving us a thumbs up, or y'all can change this, or just
Hmm.
being the legend that he is.
Yeah.
So that was really cool. But it was just a fun time for us. Like nobody was worried about anything. It was just writing music, doing it.
Right. Well, I'll tell you what, Eric. Some of those lyrics may have been too explicit in 2010, but in 2020, I think
Oh, they would
you can do
fit
that.
like a glove right now. Like people
Right.
saying a little bit, especially when you got a song like WAP that comes out,
Yep.
WAP, whatever you call it. Come on. So yeah,
Yeah.
noticing would fit right in that mold.
Well, let's get into 2020 R&B here, and we got to plug your conference that you have coming up too. But
Cool.
2020 R&B, I have a lot of complaints about 2020 R&B. Some of it is just because I love what has come before. Some of it is just I just don't like what's out right now. Like, what's your take on 2020 R&B? No bridges, songs that are 2 minutes long,
I
auto tune.
can't.
Like,
I can't
yeah.
even. I can't even. Honestly, I can't even name any R&B that I'm really
Mhm.
fooling with right now because there is none. I listen to. Of course, Tank is still doing what he does.
Yeah.
I love Lucky Day, like
Hmm.
cats
Yep.
like that. Of course, Eric Bellinger, he's like trap R&B, so
Yeah.
like I can get something from that. People like her, um, just all that kind of stuff. I'm thankful for, but like R&B as a whole is missing some stuff. Like
Yeah.
so, I would really like to get some of the stuff that we used to do back into rotation. Like I mean, creating some new stuff in that same vein and showing them like this is what R&B is supposed to sound like. And then some of the stuff that I'm working on now is kind of I think if it gets the opportunity to be heard on a major level, it'll do some stuff because I think people are looking for it too.
Yeah.
Right before COVID, people that whole real music thing was starting to bubble under, and
Yeah.
but now it's like people sitting at home and trying to churn stuff out really quickly. So the whole R&B template is just kind of like people aren't really getting it. So
Yeah. Yeah. Because I think we have to give the genre room to evolve and grow like we always have, and I think we need to continue to do that. But I just feel like I don't know if artists are putting that much time and effort into the music like they used to.
no,
And I also feel like, especially with streaming and how that plays out, they're more worried about the number than the actual quality. And I mean, I don't know what the fix is, but I mean, hopefully you are the fix. I mean, Troy put out an amazing record with Trey,
yeah,
and but I mean, there needs to be more of that.
I think cats like me and Troy, Tony, and Adonis even We
Yep.
funny thing is we actually have a group Zoom that we do. Myself, Tony, JQ,
Yep.
Sean Stockman, and Wanye, and B Cox,
Okay.
and we've actually talked about, and Greg Smith, JQ's brother. He's into music publishing. He works for CSAC.
Yep.
But we've talked about trying to come up with some stuff and work together and try to bring some of that real music back. Not necessarily, live instrumentation, but just real songs that have substance, and they speak to you. It's not
Right.
like a temporary fix. Like, you can hear it and it takes you somewhere totally different. So we're actually talking about that now, and I think um, we're kind of on the verge of doing some stuff together. So
Mm,
yeah, just be on the lookout for that soon.
amazing. Right. So Eric, of course, we got to talk about this conference that you have coming up. Can't go without mentioning that. Just give us the
Yes.
plug on that.
So we're doing a thing called the Map Journey, um, and what it is basically myself and my cousin Javon Dawkins. We're kind of giving people a inside track to what what made us successful at what we do, songwriting, the business of it, like literally anything you could name about music. We're touching on that during
Mm,
the conference. 'Cause we're coming off of an 8-week intensive that we did a master class, which was really good. He did the business side of it. I did the music, vocal arrangement, songwriting, and so what people got over those 8 weeks is just a crash course in a different kind of master class, because it was interactive. It wasn't a video that you click on and sit there and watch. No, we every week we were in a classroom Zoom with our students and doing stuff with them real time. They had assignments. They had to write songs. We had
mm.
together. I had them come up with melodies for some lyrics that I wrote to a track. Um, it was just a really different experience for people that are used to the whole master class thing. So this map journey is a continuation of that. It's going to be 4 hours, 2 hours of the music business, and then 2 hours with me doing songwriting and vocals and all that kind of stuff. We have a date for it, but I think I'm okay with saying that we may end up pushing it back, due
Mm,
to like some advertising stuff that we want to do to kind of drum up some more awareness of it. So it may be moving, but you can go on www. I think somebody said it in here. They
yeah, therealmapjourney.com.
therealmapjourney.com. Yeah.
Yeah.
Um, so go there and you can get all the information. And if the date ends up changing, it's supposed to be on the 21st, but it may end up changing. So if it does, all the information will be on the website, and you can govern yourselves accordingly. But it's going to
Right.
happen, whether it happens in the next few weeks or it happens in the next couple of months. We're definitely going to do it, because I think it's necessary. And that's one thing that we want to really do, is start educating, some of the young ones coming up on, some pitfalls that they don't have to, be trapped in like we were. Um,
Right.
just education, period, about music. The music business is crucial nowadays. So yeah, that's what we're doing, and it's going to be a continual thing. I don't think it's going to stop with this. We're going to keep going and offering this to people. You know,
Amazing. And Eric, before I get you out of here, you got to let us know what you're currently working on. Like, I really want to see you and Adonis back in with Chris Brown, because I feel like you
yeah.
you guys bring the best out of him.
Listen, we have stuff that I
Yep.
guarantee you Chris Brown would love to do and probably needs to do at
Yep.
this point. Um, but what I have coming up, I did take an executive role at
Mm,
at a label. I'm president of A&R, So I'm in charge of all the artists on the label,
Right.
development wise, overseeing all the people know what A&R does, but I'm the
Yeah.
president of A&R, and the Dawkins Dawkins project is coming. First single, we actually just had a conference call today. First single is coming in January, probably like the third. I want to say like the third week in January, second or third week in January. We're about to put out a Christmas song by the end of the month, or no later than no. It's going to be the end of the month, by the end of the month, and possibly the whole project in May, like the beginning of May.
Okay. Wow.
So yeah, we got a lot of stuff going on, and just legacy where I'm president. We have a lot of stuff coming out in January, so
Okay.
it's going to be busy time. So I'm actually looking forward to taking some time over the next couple of months to just chill and kind of reset from the year,
Right.
and hit the ground running in January. And I'm developing some artists as well. My girl Jasmine Henson, she was just out here. We did a couple songs together. She's one of them. My boy Tim Slaughter's a gospel act that I'm working on. Who else? It's somebody I wanted to mention. My little play sister out of Atlanta named Sharon Moore, or
Hmm.
Elise Moore. So just just working on some stuff, man.
Right.
My boy, I got a producer out of Dallas that's super dope named D Busy.
Okay.
That's been doing a lot of stuff with me. He has several songs on the new Dawkins Dawkins project, but he,
Mm.
you know, I'm that dude. I like, if I find somebody that I get and that gets me.
Yeah.
It's an ongoing relationship that's created. I got to mention this too, because I see my man Tremaine Burrell. We're working on a tribute project to LaShawn
Okay.
Daniels.
Oh,
And
wow.
I tell you, it's turning out. It's gonna be incredible.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, it's a lot of stuff going on. The only thing I tell people is just follow me. Just pay
Right.
attention to my gram, and you'll hear stuff. Oh, let me mention my boy Corvius, Music Mind. He was actually here with Jasmine working on the stuff with me. He's amazing.
Oh, okay.
Just a lot of
Awesome.
amazing people. And my daughter, Sierra Janae, we're gonna be working on a project for her too. So
Mm.
I'm busy, to say
Right.
the least. I'm
No,
busy.
and I appreciate you taking the time. I'm actually really looking forward to this LaShawn tribute project. I think he's one of the greatest. So
Yes,
it's amazing that
absolutely.
people still take the time out and create.
Absolutely. Oh, I found this. People that they don't understand. Well, some people do. Instagram is like the best place to find new talent. I ran across this girl, and I'm gonna shout her out. Name is
Mhm.
Amaya from Stockholm, Sweden,
Okay.
and she's like ridiculous. And I shouted her out the other day. But if you want to listen to some stuff that she did a cover of Autumn Leaves or something like that. And
Okay.
when I tell you I felt like I was on the East Coast driving Pennsylvania Turnpike during autumn, seeing all the mountains and stuff. It's
Mm.
transformative, like the way she sings. So I
Wow.
like shouting out people that have like new talent that I find. So who knows? Maybe she's looking for a deal, and I might end up bringing her
Right.
over the legacy. Who knows?
Right. Why not? But hey, Eric, I appreciate you for taking the time out for this. Like I said, so much history, so much great music, and just keep it up, man. You've got our support, so just keep us posted on anything you've got coming up.
Absolutely. I appreciate you even asking to do this with me. It's big stuff. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. So, absolutely. So just keep us posted, and we'll talk again soon.
Absolutely.
All right. You take care.
My man.